Virginia is coming off a pretty historical moment just over a month ago. They had a governor's election that gave the state its first female governor, former Representative Abigail Spanberger. Now, you yourself are Virginian. You went to school here in Charlottesville. You've seen Virginia change over the past several decades. Why do you think it took so long to elect a woman governor? About 30 other states have already had at least one female governor, so Virginia is running a little bit behind. What changes have you seen in Virginia over the past decades that you feel like played a role in now anticipating having a female governor?
Yes, I mean, I thought the whole campaign was historical in that, of the attorney general and the lieutenant governor um, were all minorities in some stripe or form. So I'm really excited about it. I think that what has taken so long is that Virginia dealing with politics here, here locally in Charlottesville, but with a strong taste of the state and national, because a lot of the candidates float through Charlottesville for donations and fundraisers and things like that, or to speak at UVA, is that it is definitely a strong, good old boy network. And sometimes the party tries to, or attempts to, or does kind of taps certain individuals that they want to be elevated to the office, and and sometimes it's the will of the majority, and sometimes it's not. It's part of that, kind of good old boy network. So, um, and I think that also what's happening nationally had a lot to do with her as well. And I think that her message was clear. It was to the point, and it really wasn't too partisan. I mean, her message is like prices are too high. We want to get back to the basics, and people that resonated with a lot of people.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned how for a long time, parties oftentimes tap certain individuals, and that can sometimes exclude other groups. What impact do you think having a female governor representing Virginia will have on midterms and future elections here in Virginia?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've heard it a lot already that the governor election here and the one in New Jersey really was kind of kind of a blueprint, but not a hard blueprint of what other candidates, Democratic candidates, can do in their campaign. Again, a lot has to do with what's going on, is happening nationally. A lot of people on both sides are just not happy with that. But um, Governor-elect Spansberger had a really strong and clear message, and it resonated with the people. And that is really what I found it in my elections too. Is just like politics is local, and we're in Virginia. It's been called a purple state and this and that, but I think that you know, it just it resonated with a lot of people. And as I looked at the map of Virginia and of the elections, uh, she won all of the urban areas. I think Charlottesville and Roanoke were, I think, the furthest west that was blue when you looked at the state. But that's where the population centers are, and man, it was a big victory. I think it's 15, 16 points. So it wasn't like it was kind of Virginia. We were really on the border. It was crystal clear. So I think there's definitely some crossover, some individuals that maybe voted Republican last time. What I found, and I think this is definitely the case with Governor-elect Spansberger, is that people want just good governance. I mean, when I am developing policy for the 10 square miles of Charlottesville, I'm not. I'm a Democrat, but I'm not thinking like, what would a Democrat do? I'm thinking, what's best for this city? What's best for the residents of the 50,000 residents, and that's what people want. I know individuals, that I see on the mall or in the community. They may be Republicans or independents or, you know, um, apolitical, they want good governance. They want parking issues done, potholes filled, snow removed, leaves removed, and I think the Spansberger will do that. And as I see her pulling her team together, how diverse it is, their track record, that I feel really good about the new administration. Really good.
Absolutely. And Spanberger is getting ready to take office in early January. You are preparing to potentially be reelected into Charlottesville as mayor. Charlottesville is facing an affordability housing crisis. And one of Spanberger's messages was strengthening Virginia, specifically heavily focusing on K through 12 education and workforce training. My question is, if you are reelected as mayor this January, how does her administration's prioritization of teacher pay and workforce grants kind of align here in Charlottesville with your budget and your goal?
Yeah, I think it aligns perfectly. Ironically, we had a joint work session last night with the Charlottesville City School Board to talk about, um, you know, um, education priorities. And when we sent legislative priorities to um, uh, establish them earlier this month, and for David Blunt to present, one of those talked about asking for additional funding for housing affordability to help us with our efforts. Charlottesville allocates 10 or $11 million each year. That's definitely give us more per capita than anyone in the state and likely in the country. So we're truly committed to that. We know Charlottesville, by all measures, is the most expensive place in the state to live. We want to keep our city diverse, and we're asking the state to help us with that. So we hope that they can come up with some policies to address that. And concerning the workforce readiness, I mean, that's what I did the last 15 years that I worked for the county, and so that's vitally important because if we want people to be able to afford to live here, they need to have good jobs. And what I found is that educate college is great, and it's but it's not for everyone. And that I've helped many individuals get good jobs by getting placed in a trade program or something. We need those trades, and UVA is really big on it as well. So and UVA has tons of old buildings, and those old buildings need electricians, plumbers, plasters, brick masons, and so you don't need to go to school for 4 years for that, but you need additional training, and you'll be able to make a fine living doing that. And so um, uh, part of Spansberger approach will be to fund and enhance those type of initiatives as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the many things that you and Spanberger have in common is that you both attended UVA. And Governor-elect Spanberger has been vocal about depoliticizing UVA. From your position as mayor, how does Spanberger's approach to depoliticizing UVA change the city's relationship with the university, specifically opening the city and UVA to collaborating on local issues like housing and transit? What does that look
Mhm.
like?
Yeah, yeah. So it's important because when UVA sneezes, we as a community catch a cold. That's how intertwined they are into Charlottesville, and it's really important that before I said the last 4 years of things that happened in Texas and Georgia and North Carolina and places like that, we had been kind of insulated from that. But now we see that UVA is definitely involved with that, with the ouster of President Ryan, and likely the announcement of a new president today, which will kind of throw it all in limbo, in my opinion, because she will likely come in and get a new board seated, and if that new board is not happy with his new selection, which they probably won't be, then it will be efforts over the next year likely to remove that person. And so um, it's been my experience that to select a president of the stature of a place like UVA, it's going to take about 2 years. They did in like maybe 4 months, and you know, and likely any candidate that will take it is probably not someone we want because all viable candidates would not want to touch with UVA what's going on now. So I say that to say I'm excited about what she is doing in her approach. I think she will get in and quickly get the 4 or 5 members on so that we can have a quorum and the board can get about doing business. So I just don't think it should be politicized at all. I understand that each governor comes in and he or she can, over the 4 years, select their candidates, but that's been that way for 200 or 300 years, however long UVA, how old the school is, and it's worked. It hasn't gotten political. They let the president do their work, and um, it's over the last tenure, the last year, it's changed, and I just don't think that it should be that way.
Yeah, yeah. And that leads into my next question with you. You did, address a little bit, but,
Yeah,
last evening, the Washington Post reported that the Board of Visitors potentially, most likely, maybe will announce the next president of the university at a meeting later today. Now, Governor-elect Spanberger and members of the community have been very vocal about pausing the search for the next president, at least until new members have been confirmed by the legislature to fill those vacancies. If the BOV does select a president, and some rumors have gone around that it is potentially the dean of Darden, what impact do you think that will have on the Charlottesville community's relationship with the university? As you mentioned, when the university sneezes,
yeah,
the yeah,
the,
cough.
yeah. Community catches a cold, yes. So what I
Mhm.
think that because I met the current president, interim president, Paul Mahoney, and he has been a longtime member of the community, teaching at the law school. So he is connected, understands the community, and I think I don't know much about the dean or the president of the Darden, but if he or she is like President Mahoney, kind of a long time member of this community, I think that is a lot better than someone that they bring in to just um, disrupt for no reason. It's a lot better because it's a lot of personal connections that they may have to answer to. He's like, well, why did you do this? Why did you do that when they go to the grocery store, when they go to the place of worship? So um, I just really hope that they just put it on pause, and whoever they offer it to, they're like, you know what, I'm gonna wait to, I would say, the end of January or whenever the current General Assembly is over to even, just put it on pause. It's no rush. This university has been around. I don't know how long, probably 300 years. Another 6 months or a year, it's not going to impact it. President Mahoney is doing a great job filling in the gap until um, a permanent one is found.
Yeah, yeah. And keeping the spotlight on UVA, just last month, UVA memorialized its 3 years since the 2022 shooting that took three students. And
Hmm.
this month we saw, a shooting at Brown, and conversations around gun violence, specifically at schools, have kind of resurged here. If you are reelected back into office, what is your plan with Spanberger to really, really tackle the issues of gun violence here in Charlottesville?
So, yeah, yeah. I talked to Joy Johnson yesterday. She is with FAR in the West Haven community, and she asked me a similar question. and I used the term, we as city council, we want to address gun violence. And she said, Mayor Wade, no, she said Juan. She said, I went to a conference in Virginia Beach this week, and they they use she said that they told them not to use the term gun violence because violence can take place in a lot of different avenues and guns are separate. So she is now using those terms separately. And I told her it's going to take me a while to get used to that. I said, what terms are they using now? They just said violence. So what I am planning to do is to, and work with our chief of police is to, and I understand in the city of Hampton they're doing some great things there to address. See, I'm going to say gun violence again. It's going to take it's going to take me a while to make that change, but I think that there's a lot that we can do to enact some sensible legislation. I understand that this is going to be a tough thing to do because people feel like it's baked in the Constitution. People have different points of view about that. But if someone has committed violence against their spouse and they have registered a weapon, then I think that the police should be able to go and take that gun for, a period of time until things cool off. If someone has a documented case of some mental disability, instability, they should be able to take that until things get straight. I mean, these are just, we're not taking it forever, just until we understand that you're not going to help hurt yourself or hurt someone else. I think there's some very common sense things that we can do, and I think that Governor Spansberger will support us in that. And these are a lot of cities. It's not just Charlottesville that are doing these things that support this position. So I hope that she will support us in that effort, and I think she will in some of the things that she can do, and limit the number of guns that you can purchase during a set period of time. But that is not something that the city is going to um, bank on per se. I don't think it was part of our legislative priorities. It's more focused on funding affordable housing and things like that.
This transition from Governor Youngkin to Spanberger. So Governor Youngkin has been a pretty big supporter of the Trump administration amid the policies for federal cuts and more oversight on higher education, especially here at UVA. With Spanberger now, preparing to be sworn in, how do you want Spanberger to maybe, approach a Trump administration and kind of maybe insulate Virginia from all of the Washington politics?
Yeah, I mean, Virginia is in the crosshairs and of this because I think we're probably the southernmost state that voted against him. And Charlottesville is right in the middle because we, up until, I'm thinking about a year ago, during the height of the Biden Trump president campaign, they had been it had been determined by now, but I said September, October to the first part of November, it wasn't a day that didn't go by that neither candidate either candidate did not mention Charlottesville on their stump speeches and things like that. It was and so we're we're in the crosshairs of the president as a community. So we're just trying to buckle down, do the work of the business, and not trying to be the front runner of the resistance or whatever. We have done that. We've been. We're trying to heal now. We're trying to make up and do the work of the of the city council. and so I think that Spansberger is part. I mean, she's not definitely not going to back away from it, but it's a lot of work to be done. I'm sure she's saying there's a lot of work to do that Youngkin did that she didn't necessarily support. So she's going to be working on that. But this whole time, because we're so tied to the federal government with Northern Virginia kind of being the engine that runs the state economically, we have a lot of, you know, what happens in Washington has an impact here. So, not sure if I'm answering your question, other than to say that we need to keep an eye on it, but we have a lot of work to do here in the state.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, Governor-elect Spanberger, during her time as representative, was seen as the most bipartisan elected official. She has championed working across the aisle to really deliver for communities. What do you say to people who are skeptical about her ability to deliver some of her promises on the governor level and really work with Republican uh, candidates here, Republican elected officials here in Virginia?
I think that she can. I mean, she has support. Both houses are Democratic. But even when she was represented us in Congress, the her district, that was one of the things that she was known for. She understands looking at both sides and how can we move forward as a country now as a state. So I just don't think it's going to be a problem. I don't think she's coming in, like the governor. I mean, the mayor of New York saying, you're free this and free that, and just really, I think it's common sense governance. And again, that's what people want, and it should be something that both sides should want. So I don't think that she will have a problem doing it. She definitely can come in and say, you know what, I have a mandate. Um, but I think that she would say, I want to, and she has said this, I want to listen to both sides and propose some legislation. Some things we know that she's going to do probably on day one. I'm not sure if she's identified like the five people that's going to be on UVA boards and George Mason boards and other places. Um, but it's a lot of room for compromise and collaboration.